Today, we're working on a 2014 Ford F150. It has a shake whenever you press the brakes. The whole vehicle shakes a little bit. It's not bad, but the customer wants it repaired. So what we're doing today is we're gonna check the lateral runout on the brake rotor and get it changed. So we're gonna show you how you do that. So first things first, jack the vehicle up. You can do so by placing a jack there on the frame, and then the jack stand here. There's actually an arrow to indicate where you should put a jack stand. I guess they want it a little bit more forward. We put it right there. Works just fine. Next, shake the vehicle. Make sure it won't fall, because it's better if it falls while you're not under it. Next, remove the wheel. Put it under the vehicle. The next thing you want to do is put 2 lug nuts onto the studs to hold the rotor in place. Then take your caliper here, or your micrometer, loosen it up, adjust it so it's just on, and see how there's a little bit where I'm pushing it through. Adjust it so that it's on there and there's a little bit poking through. Oh, I forgot to turn it on. So turn it on first, then adjust it so there's a little bit coming through. Firmly attach it and zero it. Once you've zeroed it, you can then spin the rotor. In 2035 I saw. You can then check and see if the rotor is warped and out of spec. As you can see, this one goes to 3 thousandths. The spec for this is 2 thousandths. And actually, I saw this at 3.5 thousandths at one point, right there. 3.5 thousandths out of spec. So that is what's accounting for the wobble as you press the brakes. So let's get this rotor replaced. While we're replacing the rotor, we're gonna go ahead and replace the brake pads as well. So I'm gonna show you how to do that now. First things first, get a clamp, put one side here, the other side on the back side, take the clamp and spin it. That way then the brake pads are not held on by a lip that you might have on the rotor. This one doesn't have one, but I always do that just to make sure that I'm gonna have an easy time taking them off. When you get it off, you can either use this tool, I got this one from Lang, or you can go ahead and compress it the rest of the way with a clamp while it's on there. It's important to do that while it's still on there because this is a 2-piston caliper. If you try to just take this and compress 1 piston at a time whenever you have it off, it will not work. You'll end up just pushing the other piston out. So be sure you do that. Next, you're gonna wanna undo this 10mm bolt. And unclip the ABS wire from it. Hang your caliper hanger there. Then take a large ratchet, put it on the caliper bolts there, and break them loose. Shouldn't be difficult. Once you've broken them loose, you can use an impact and buzz them off. Take your caliper and hang it out of the way. Next, take your ratchet, undo the bolts for the caliper clamshell. Take a screwdriver, pop out the old brake pads. If you're gonna reuse them, don't use a screwdriver. We're not reusing them. Pop them out. You can then take your impact and buzz caliper bracket bolts out. If your rotor's good, be sure to hit it here or here, anywhere that is not the surface that actually stops it. But since we're replacing this one, doesn't matter. Eventually it'll pop off. I'm not going to show it because I'm pressed for time, but you want to clean all of the rust off of the hub surface, and then you want to put a light coat of anti-seize to prevent it from getting stuck again. This is especially important if you live somewhere where they salt the roads. The next thing you're going to want to do is replace these clips with the new ones. This is easy to do while this bracket is still on the vehicle. You just use your screwdriver, pop the clips out, take the new ones, align them, and press them in there. Like that. Do that for all 4 corners, and then reinstall. When you reinstall the rotor, put 2 lug nuts in it so it doesn't shake around when you reinstall the caliper mounting bracket. Now reinstall the bracket, put it in place, take your 2 mounting bolts, get them started. You can take your impact, put them in the rest of the way. But you will need to torque to spec. So now that you've done that, go get your torque wrench and torque these. Now you're going to want to install your brake pads. You're going to note that there is one that has a semicircle on the top. You're going to want to install that one on the back side because that is the one that you can see these pistons in the caliper. This semicircle it rests on the piston and allows uniform pressure to be applied to the brake pad, so that way you don't get uneven wear or destroy a brake pad or a rotor prematurely. To install them, take the bottom end, slide it in, and then slide the top. Do the same thing for the other side. The next step is going to be to compress the caliper and reinstall. If you didn't already do it, now is a really good time to go ahead and remove some brake fluid from the master reservoir so it doesn't overflow. Press your brake caliper tool in between the calipers and ratchet it. So now reverse it and remove. You can now reinstall this. To reinstall your caliper bracket, now that you've compressed the pistons, simply place it over the mounting bracket. Take your 13mm nuts or bolts here, get them started. And then you can take the impact and slide them in. There is a piece right here. If this moves, you should have checked it for movement before. I greased the caliper slide pins right here, but you need to if it starts spinning, you can use a box end wrench here to hold it in place. Now take your impact, or take your torque wrench and torque these to spec. After you install the caliper, you then need to go ahead and make sure you reinstall your brake line bracket. And go ahead and take your ABS line, put it back in there as well. And now you're done. And there you have it. That's how you replace and check for the brakes on a 2014 Ford F-150. After you clean the brake rotors off with brake clean, you're now ready to go for a test drive. Good luck. Like, share, and subscribe.